Hi, Brian from the channel Brian here. This week's fresh hell I fell backwards into is Dear Evan Hansen, the film adaptation of the Broadway musical. And it makes me want so badly to turn to theater kids collectively and ask, why did you make this popular? What do you see in this? What the hell is wrong with you? But somehow I still know this probably isn't what theater kids wanted. Not like this. The show was this coming-of-age story about a hyper-medicated misfit finding himself drawn closer to a grieving family due to a misunderstanding he's too awkward to correct. I guess by some contortion of logic this was supposed to be uplifting. It's just so cloying with this meek, apple-cheeked sandbag of a protagonist singing about finding himself, and a depiction of mental illness so twee it could only be matched by 13 Reasons Why coming out a few months later. It was a strange wave of media that let teenagers pretend they care about mental illness when they weren't on TikTok body-shaming someone to death. This film became kind of a massive target online once the internet collectively realized, hey, Ben Platt looks kind of old. Which he does. Dear Evan Hansen is not a movie that's bad because every aspect individually is a failure. It's a select few grave mistakes, profoundly coloring everything else. Ben Platt in this role is a catastrophe. His presence as a teenage character lends as much credibility as Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum in 21 Jump Street, which literally played how old they looked as a joke.
That you look like a fucking 40-year-old man?
It is never not noticeable. It is never convincing. Through a cornucopia of mannerisms intent on infantilizing himself and a disastrous cocktail of sludgy makeup and prosthetics, Ben Platt transmorphs from merely an actor too old for a part into a midlife crisis Pillsbury doughboy. He sings and every vein in his neck protrudes such that they resemble the sprawling roots of the tree his character jumped out of. Sure, the students looked old in Grease, they looked old in Saved by the Bell, Steve McQueen in The Blob is comedically beyond the age his character should be, but here's why that defense doesn't work. In Grease, everyone looked like that. In Saved by the Bell, everyone looked like that. Actors in their 20s who can still pass for teenagers surround Platt with such a noticeable dissonance between them. It's not just unconvincing that he's young, but that he's also a passing adult among passing children. Watching this fucking hobgoblin with Carrie Elwes' coke-bloated head photoshopped onto Michael Cera's body, Captain America the First Avenger style, timidly hide his crush on Caitlin Denver, I'm gonna ask him to take a seat before I get swept up in their non-existent chemistry. It adds an uncomfortable, sinister edge to a story that already does far too little to reconcile its fucked up core. For completely earned reasons, Dear Evan Hansen's sense of morality has fallen under criticism. This is a story that, in order to happen, requires a protagonist who is either too stupid to function or too malicious to empathize with. The opening number is an orgy of evidence that Evan is socially incapacitated with how he shuffles around and sarcastically stutters, like Bo Burnham starring in a reboot of Big. When he begins playing into the lies that have taken shape around him, a child mentally ill as Evan could believably do this. I don't ask for a character's actions to be squeaky clean, just that they be understandable and make sense. But as the character's youth is stripped from him, I can't justify his actions by him not knowing any better. I just can't. And he is never fully placed under the weight of his actions. The film is always bestowing this kernel of victimhood upon him. And to make already catastrophic matters even worse, Platt's miscasting is anything but an accident. Not only is his father the producer of the movie, and also Drive, but Platt deflected criticism of his age by proclaiming the very existence of the film rode on whether or not he would play the character, and the pandemic only rushed production, which is probably why the film looks like an overlit episode of Riverdale. Bottom line, in defiance of everything but ego, Platt was non-negotiably to star in this movie because he thinks his relationship to the role is too iconic, it's incomplete if he's not playing it, and he has the power to make that happen because Daddy's the producer. How about you suck my entire cock? Exactly how much blatant egoism are you content to show before the smallest morsel of reality crosses your mind, Ben? You honestly believe the world's appreciation for the show rests totally on you playing this part, one which you clearly no longer have the acting chops to play anymore. I don't know how to tell you this, but you already looked too old to play Evan on Broadway. This looks like they got Bobby Cannavale to play Eddie from It. Due to the insistence on Platt's iconic link to the role and subsequent rushed production schedule to keep him from becoming an even older actor pretending he's immune to the passage of time, we're never gonna know if this film could have possibly been less of a disaster than it turned out. Whether it's the painfully stilted conversations, disconnected editing, or lighting so inopportune it casts a shadow on Platt's every unfortunately chasmed prosthetic, they're all symptoms of lacking the time to properly execute anything better produced than the concessions ads before the movie. I hope you're ready for choreography that's mostly just walking down the same school hallway. But all of this, the phoniness, the unintentional disgust at Platt's passing age, they participate in tandem with one of my least favorite trends right now, the belief that art coming forward in a spirit of positivity makes it exempt from criticism. Like Joaquin Phoenix in Joker jamming his fingers in his mouth, there might be a big smile, but it's so torturously forced onto its face you couldn't possibly mistake it for something genuine. A project self-serving as this stops short of any real escapism, because I prefer my comfort movies come from a more genuine place, resulting in a final product I believe the artists involved would have arrived at on their own without that cynical byproduct. I'm not mad about the movie. The movie is a handful of false positivity pixie dust. Who the hell cares? I've seen that before. But coming out of this, I can say Ben Platt's misplaced confidence is a more appropriate identifier for the film than anything that's actually in it. Listening to the music out of context with the movie and imagining what the story might be like were he not there was a more rewarding experience than this. I got absolutely nothing out of Dear Evan Hansen. At all. This is a soulless endeavor of self-indulgence 1,000 times before it's anything else. If you're a remnant of the musical's deranged Tumblr fan base, then you'll probably get something out of it. But for the rest of you, it's not worth it. Don't see this. I'm giving this movie a 2, and that's it. So, did you like this movie more than me, less than me? Well, if you care to, please tell me. And as always, if you like not only words, but the way I arrange and then say them, please consider giving this video a like, it helps me with the algorithm, and subscribing to me, Brian from the channel Brian. Thank you, and goodbye.